Jake Carter was not a hero. At least that's what he told himself every time he took off in his old cargo ship, the Raven. He was a salvager, a man who searched old wrecks and empty stations for anything useful. He liked space because it was quiet. No noise, no orders. Just him, his ship, and the stars. But space has a way of changing things. It all started on a regular route near the outer edge of Shirathi space. Jake had no plans to enter alien territory. He just wanted to check a few old satellite signals, pick up some scrap, and head home.
Easy job.
Nothing dangerous. Then he heard it. A distress signal. It was faint. Crackling through his comm system, half buried under static, Jake leaned forward, adjusting the receiver. Emergency. Shirathi vessel. ... Engines offline. Life support. Felling, please. ... Anyone. Help. Jake sat back, frowning. Shirathi. That was strange. Shirathi were a proud, secretive alien race, known for their strict customs and dislike of outsiders. Humans and Shirathi didn't mix much. There'd been no war, just silence. Still, Jake wasn't the type to ignore a cry for help. He tapped the console, scanning the source of the signal. It was coming from a small moon orbiting a gas giant nearby. He hesitated. He could pretend he never heard it. No one would blame him, but he sighed and pushed the thrusters. All right, let's see what's going on, he muttered to himself. The wreck was half buried in ice. A sleek silver ship, broken and scorched, lay cracked across the frozen surface. Smoke drifted from the main engine core. Life support was blinking red. Jake put on his pressure suit and stepped out. The cold hit him instantly. He trudged through the snow toward the ship, using a scanner to check for life. One signal. Faint but alive. He cut open a side panel and crawled inside. The air was thin and bitter. Ice coated the walls. And then he saw her. A tall figure slumped against the wall. Female. With pale violet skin, long black hair, and deep silver eyes half closed. She wore a torn flight suit with the Shirathi crest on the chest. Her breathing was shallow. She looked up slowly when she saw him. Her eyes widened. A human. She whispered. Jake held up his hands. Hey, easy. Not here to hurt you. I picked up your distress signal. She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded weakly. Life support's down, he said. We need to move now. Without waiting, Jake pulled her arm over his shoulder and helped her out of the wreck. She was surprisingly light but clearly injured. Back aboard the Raven, he got her into the medbay. The ship's systems scanned her and began basic healing protocols. Jake watched as her color returned slowly, her breathing becoming steadier. She opened her eyes again, clearer this time. You saved me, she said softly. Jake gave a tired smile. Yeah, you're welcome. The next few hours were quiet. Jake offered her water and basic nutrients. He didn't ask questions. He figured she'd speak when ready. Finally, she sat up. My name is Lyra, she said. I am the daughter of Clan Vierises of the Shirathi. Jake Carter, he replied. Freelancer? Salvager? No clan, just cargo. Lyra studied him with an unreadable expression. You risked your life for me, Jake shrugged. You would have done the same, right? No, she said plainly. Most Shirathi would not. He laughed, thinking she was joking. She didn't smile. Jake changed the subject. So what happened? Why were you out here? My ship was attacked. Pirates, maybe. I managed to land. Here, but ... the systems failed. I thought I would die. You almost did. Lyra looked at him again, this time with a strange kind of focus. You understand what you've done? She asked. Jake blinked. I saved someone's life. That's all. Lyra's gaze grew more intense. In my culture, to save the life of a Shirathi woman, especially one of noble blood, it's a sacred act. It creates a bond. Jake frowned. A bond. You have claimed me. According to Shirathi law, we are now bound as life partners. There was a long pause. Jake tilted his head. Wait, are you saying I married you? In your words, yes, Lyra said calmly. You saved me. You are now my mate. Jake stood there in stunned silence. His mouth opened, then closed. This had not been in the job description. Jake sat on the edge of his cot, rubbing his forehead. The words Lyra had said echoed in his mind like a strange riddle. You saved me. You are now my mate. He couldn't believe it. How could saving someone turn into something so serious? In human culture, helping someone didn't mean you had to marry them. It was just ... kindness. But this wasn't human culture. It was Shirathi culture. And Lyra's eyes told him this was no joke. He looked at her sitting quietly on the other side of the room. She looked calm, but there was a quiet strength in her that he couldn't ignore. Okay, Jake said finally. Let's say I believe you. What happens now? Lyra stood and moved toward the small viewport. Outside, the cold gas giant spun. Slowly in space, its rings shining under distant stars. Now your life changes, she said softly. By saving me, you have entered our world. You are bound to me and to my clan. Our customs demand respect and honor. You must learn our ways. Jake groaned inwardly. This was not what he had signed up for. I'm just a guy trying to make a living, not some kind of alien prince. Lyra turned to him, her silver eyes steady, whether you like it or not. This is your new reality. We will travel to my home world. There you will meet my family and the clan elders. You will learn what it means to be my mate. Jake swallowed hard. Traveling to an alien world was one thing. Being forced into a marriage he didn't understand was another. The Raven was small. But Jake managed to prepare it for the journey to Lyra's homeworld. He had questions. Many questions. But Lyra said little. She seemed lost in thought. As they left the frozen moon behind, Jake's mind raced. He thought about Earth, about the friends he left behind, thought about freedom, about choices. Here, none of that seemed to matter. He broke the silence. Lyra, what if I don't want this marriage? She looked at him, surprised. Marriage is not just a choice for the Shirathi, she said quietly. It is a sacred duty. Once the bond is made, it cannot be broken. Jake felt a cold weight settle in his chest. So I'm stuck with this. Not stuck, Lyra corrected. Bound. But the bond is strong. It grows with time and trust. You will come to understand. Jake didn't want to understand. He wanted to find a way out. Days passed in silence, except for the hum of the ship's engines. Jake tried to prepare for what was ahead. But the unknown scared him more than he wanted to admit. Finally, the Raven entered orbit around Lyra's planet, a lush, green world with towering mountains and deep blue oceans. The Shirathi homeworld was breathtaking, but Jake couldn't admire it much. His thoughts were focused on what awaited him. Lyra guided him through the landing procedure. Her movements sure and practiced. When they touched down, a group of tall, proud-looking Shirathi warriors awaited them on the landing platform. Their eyes glinted with curiosity and challenge as they approached. Jake. One stepped forward, a tall male with dark skin and sharp features. He introduced himself as Korin, the leader of Lyra's clan guard. You have brought honor to our clan by saving Lyra, Korin said in a deep voice. But you must prove yourself worthy of the bond. Jake nodded, trying to hide his nervousness. What kind of proof, he asked? Korin smiled faintly. The clan elders will decide. There are tests of courage, wisdom, and respect. You will face them all. Jake swallowed again. This was more serious than he thought. In the large hall of the clan's stronghold, Jake met the elders, wise, stern Shirathi, who watched him with sharp eyes. Lyra stood by his side, calm and composed. The eldest elder spoke first. You have entered into a sacred bond by saving our daughter. This bond is not just personal, it affects our entire clan. You must honor it. Jake bowed his head. I understand, do you? The elder asked, looking him over. You understand what it means to be part of our culture? Jake hesitated. I'm willing to learn. The elder nodded slowly. Then you will begin the rite of acceptance tomorrow. We'll test your heart and mind. Jake glanced at Lyra. She gave him a small, encouraging smile. The next day, Jake faced the first challenge, a test of courage. The clan led him to the edge of a great canyon, where a narrow old bridge stretched across a deep ravine. You must cross, said Corin. The bridge tests your fear. Only those who face it without doubt show strength. Jake looked at the shaky wooden planks, old and worn by centuries of use. His stomach twisted. He took a deep breath. One step. Another, halfway across, the bridge creaked loudly. The wind howled. His heart pounded. But he kept moving. One foot in front of the other. Finally, he reached the other side. Breathless but proud. Lyra was waiting, her eyes bright. You passed, she said softly. You were stronger than I thought. Jake smiled for the first time in days. The next test was wisdom. The clan elders asked him questions about loyalty, honor, and sacrifice. Jake answered honestly, using his human experience. To protect those you care about, what would you give up? Asked the eldest elder. Jake thought carefully. Everything. My life, if needed. Loyalty means standing firm, no matter the cost. Elders nodded approvingly. You have much to learn, but your heart is true, the elder said. Jake felt a flicker of hope. Maybe he could do this after all, that evening. Jake and Lyra walked under the stars, talking quietly. I don't understand. All your customs yet? Jake said. But I'm trying, Lyra smiled. You have surprised me. Most outsiders run away. You face our world with respect. Jake looked at her. I saved you because it was the right thing to do, not because I wanted a bond or a marriage. Lyra nodded. That is why you are different. Our culture respects strength and kindness. They stopped at the edge of a lake, the water reflecting the twin moons. Jake sighed. I don't know what the future holds, but I'll face it. For you, and maybe for myself. Lyra looked at him with warmth. Together we can change old ways, she said. Jake smiled softly. The first time he felt like he belonged somewhere beyond the stars. Jake Carter had never worn ceremonial robes before. The long, deep blue cloth felt heavy across his shoulders, and the silver belt it came with kept sliding to one side. He looked at himself in the mirror and sighed. I look like I'm about to join a space opera, he muttered. Lyra, standing nearby in her own ceremonial outfit, raised an eyebrow. You look like someone who is about to speak to the ruling council of my people. A little respect might help. Jake turned to her. Respect I have. Confidence? Not so much. Lyra gave him a rare smile. You faced wild beasts and crossed ancient bridges. You can face a group of old leaders. Yeah, but bridges don't ask tricky political questions, Jake replied. Today, Jake would stand before the Scifi. High Council, the most powerful and traditional leaders in their society. These weren't just elders from Lyra's clan. These were the lawmakers, the record keepers, and the final judges. Their opinion of Jake would decide whether his bond with Lyra would be accepted or rejected. Rejection might mean exile, or worse. The council chamber was a wide, circular room made of shining stone and crystal. High windows let in natural light from the twin suns. 12 council members sat in a wide arc, their robes more elaborate than anything Jake had seen. Each one wore a different symbol on their chest, marks of their role in Sharati culture. Jake stood in the center. Lyra was behind him, her presence calm and supportive, a tall female elder named Sari Rose. She had silver hair and sharp eyes. Jake Carter, she began, her voice echoing through the chamber. You are a human. An outsider, yet you have bound yourself to one of our own. Do you understand the seriousness of this bond? Jake nodded. I didn't understand it at first, but I do now. Your traditions may be different, but I respect them. I saved Lyra's life because it was the right thing to do. I stayed because I chose to, not because I had to. Another elder leaned forward. Would you honor her, even if she had no title, no clan? Jake answered without hesitation. Yes, her strength, her loyalty, and her heart. Those things matter more than her rank. There was a murmur in the room. Some council members looked surprised. Few nodded. Then came the questions Jake feared most about human culture. Your people are known for war, a male elder said. Why should we trust you? Jake kept his voice steady. Yes, humans have made mistakes, but we also learn. We grow, explore, not to conquer, but to understand. And I stand here not as a soldier, but as a man who believes that trust starts with one step." Lyra smiled faintly. Jake was speaking from the heart now, not from fear. Another elder asked, "What do you bring to the Shirathi as her mate?" Jake paused, then replied, "A new perspective. Maybe even a new way forward. I may not know your customs, but I'm willing to learn. I bring curiosity, honesty, and loyalty." The council grew quiet. Finally, Elder Sari spoke again. "You have answered with honesty, and you have shown courage. But our laws are not easily changed. If you wish to truly be accepted, there is one more step." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Another test?" "No. A union ceremony," she said. "Before our people. Before the stars. If you accept this final tradition, your bond will be made official and honored." Jake looked at Lyra. She gave him a gentle nod. "I accept," he said. Over the next few days, the stronghold became a place of preparation. News of the human mate spread quickly. Some clans were curious. Others were skeptical. Jake noticed more eyes following him wherever he went. Still, he kept trying. He trained in Shirathi customs, learned basic phrases in their language, and even helped young students understand Earth's culture. Slowly, the people warmed to him. One day, as he helped repair a solar panel, Corin, the warrior captain, approached him. "You do not act like most humans we've heard of," Corin said gruffly. Jake wiped sweat from his brow. "I don't think most humans act like the stories either." Corin gave a small nod. "You have earned my respect." "That is not easy." It wasn't a long conversation, but it meant more than Jake expected. The night of the union ceremony arrived. The great temple was lit by glowing stones and soft music filled the air. Hundreds of Shirathi stood silently as Jake and Lyra walked side by side down the ceremonial path. Lyra wore a silver robe embroidered with her clan symbol. Jake wore a simpler version, but one that showed he was now part of her clan too. Before the council and the people, Elder Sari raised her hands. "Under the eyes of the stars, we witness a union that crosses worlds," she said. "A bond made not by tradition alone, but by choice." Jake turned to Lyra. "I never expected any of this," he said softly. "But I'm glad I found you." Lyra smiled. "You didn't find me, Jake. You saved me, and I think you saved something in yourself too." They touched foreheads, a Shirathi gesture of trust and unity. The crowd let out a quiet, respectful sound. The union was accepted. Later, standing under the open sky, Jake looked up at the stars. He still didn't understand everything. But for the first time in years, he felt like he wasn't drifting through space with no direction. He had found something, or someone, worth staying for. Lyra stood beside him, calm and quiet. "Are you ready for what comes next?" she asked. Jake smiled. "Ready as I'll ever be." Together, they looked out at the stars. No longer strangers, but partners. Not just by custom, but by choice. After the union ceremony, Jake expected things to get easier. He thought maybe the hardest part was behind him, but he was wrong. Life with the Shirathi was full of surprises and challenges. The morning after the ceremony, Jake woke up to a soft knock on his door. Lyra was standing there, her eyes bright with a serious look. "It is time," she said. "The clan expects you to learn the ways of our people. You must understand our customs and traditions to honor the bond." Jake rubbed his eyes. "Much time do I have?" Lyra smiled gently. "All your waking hours." Jake spent the next days attending lessons with the clan's teachers. They taught him the Shirathi language, their history, and the many rituals that govern daily life. It was overwhelming. In one lesson, an elder showed Jake how to prepare the ceremonial tea, a bitter drink that symbolized patience and respect. Jake tried to hold the small cup properly, but ended up spilling most of it on the floor. Lyra laughed softly but didn't criticize. "You will learn," she said kindly. Outside the classroom, Jake faced other challenges. The Shirathi valued physical strength and endurance. Every day, he trained with Corin and other warriors. The exercises were tough, climbing, running, and even sparring with wooden staffs. Jake was not used to this level of discipline. His muscles ached, and his breath came fast. One afternoon, After a particularly hard session, Jake sat on a rock. Panting, Corin came over and offered him a drink of water. "You're stronger than you think," Corin said, "but strength alone is not enough." Jake looked at him. "What else?" "Honor, loyalty, and the willingness to protect those you care about." Jake nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand. Not everything was physical, though. Jake quickly learned the importance of respect in Shirathi culture. The people greeted each other with deep bows or special hand gestures. Interrupting a conversation was seen as rude. Even silence had meaning at first. Jake felt awkward. He was used to being casual, speaking his mind freely. But Lyra helped him navigate these social rules. "Watch and listen," she said. "Every movement, every word has meaning here." One day, during a clan feast, Jake noticed a group of younger Shirathi watching him closely. They whispered among themselves. Jake felt their eyes burn into him. Lyra leaned close. "They are judging you, testing if you belong." Jake swallowed hard. "What if I fail?" Lyra smiled reassuringly. "Then you try again." The biggest challenge came when Jake met Lyra's family. Her parents were proud and traditional. Her father, a tall warrior with a stern face, spoke little but watched Jake carefully. Lyra's mother was softer but held high expectations. During dinner, the family asked Jake questions about his life on Earth. Some questions were polite, others pointed. "Why would a human risk so much for an alien woman?" Lyra's mother asked gently. Jake looked around the table. "'Cause some things are worth saving, no matter where you come from." Her father raised an eyebrow. "And what do you expect in return?" Jake smiled. "Nothing. I did what I thought was right. But I hope to learn from you all, and maybe teach you a little about Earth." The room was quiet. Lyra's father nodded slowly. "We will see if your actions match your words." Despite the challenges, Jake felt a growing connection to this new world. He and Lyra spent evenings exploring the forests near the clan's home. Lyra showed him the sacred places, ancient trees that whispered stories, clear streams where the clan gathered to make promises. One night, under a sky filled with stars, Jake asked Lyra, "Do you ever want to leave all this behind?" She looked at him with surprise. "Why would I?" "Sometimes I miss Earth," Jake said. "My friends, my freedom. But here, with you, I feel something different. Like I belong." Lyra reached for his hand. "We belong together now. It's worlds, one bond." But not everyone was happy. Rumors spread among some Shirathi clans that a human mate was a weakness. They whispered that Jake was an outsider who could never truly understand their ways. One evening, as Jake trained alone, he heard voices behind him. "Humans cannot be trusted," a harsh voice said. Jake turned to see two men, their faces hard and unwelcoming. "You don't belong here," the other said. Jake stood tall. "I belong wherever I choose to stand." "I'm here for Lyra and her clan," the men sneered. "We will see how long that lasts." Jake knew this was only the beginning. The next day, Lyra told Jake about the opposition. "Some clans want to challenge our union," she explained. "They see you as a threat." Jake frowned. "What can we do?" "We show them the strength of our bond, not just in words, but in actions." Jake looked at her, feeling more determined than ever. "Then let them. Come, I'm ready." Lyra smiled. "Good, because this is only the start." As days turned into weeks, Jake grew stronger, wiser, and more certain of his place in the Shirath world. The bond that began as an accident is now becoming something real, something powerful. Together, Jake and Lyra prepared to face whatever challenges their new life would bring, not just as human and alien, but as partners. Weeks passed since the union ceremony. Jake had grown stronger and more confident, but the whispers of doubt and challenge still echoed among the clans. One morning, Jake woke to find Lyra standing at the window, her face thoughtful. "There is to be a challenge," she said quietly. "A trial by combat. The clans who oppose our bond want to test your strength and loyalty." Jake frowned. "A fight. Can't we just talk this out?" Lyra shook her head. This is how they show respect and settle disputes. It is a way to prove your worth. Jake knew better than to argue. This was Shirathi culture, fierce and proud. That afternoon, the clan gathered in the open arena. The sky was clear, and the air buzzed with tension. The challengers were two strong warriors from a rival clan. They stood tall and confident, eyes locked on Jake. Corin came up beside him. Remember, this is not just about strength. It is about honor. Jake nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. The first challenger stepped forward, wielding a staff carved with ancient symbols. The fight began. Jake's heart pounded as he dodged the warrior's strikes. He wasn't as fast or skilled as the Shirathi fighters, but he had something else, quick thinking and determination. He used the environment. Ducking behind rocks and jumping over roots, the crowd watched in silence, amazed at the human's courage. After several minutes, Jake saw an opening. He swept the challenger's legs, causing him to fall. The crowd gasped. The second challenger nodded with respect and stepped forward. This fight was harder. The second warrior was larger and more experienced. He attacked with quick, powerful strikes. Jake struggled to keep up. His arms ached and sweat blurred his vision, but then he remembered Lyra's words, strength alone is not enough. He focused on defense, blocking and waiting. When the warrior overextended, Jake moved quickly and knocked the staff away. Then, using a practiced move he learned from Corin, he pinned the warrior down. The arena erupted in cheers. The elders stood and approached Jake. You have proven your strength and your honor, Elder Sari said. But more than that, you have shown your loyalty. Jake breathed deeply, relief flooding his body. Lyra stepped forward and took his hand, the clan's. Except you, she said. Jake smiled. That means a lot. After the challenge, Jake was invited to a feast celebrating the union. The hall was filled with music, laughter, and the rich smells of food. Jake found himself talking to many Shirathi, sharing stories of Earth and learning more about their world. One elder, an old woman named Morella, approached him. You have done well, human, she said kindly. But the true test of your bond is not strength or words. It is trust. Jake looked at her. Trust. Morella nodded. To trust someone from a different world, that is the greatest gift. The next day, Jake and Lyra took a walk outside. The stronghold Jake looked at the rising suns, and then at Lyra. I want to be worthy of your trust, he said. But sometimes I feel lost. This world is so different from mine. Lyra smiled softly. You are not alone. I have doubts too. Jake was surprised. You do? Yes. I was raised to believe that bonds are rules, not choices. But with you, I am learning something new. They stopped by a quiet stream. Maybe our bond is not just about tradition. Maybe it is about building something new between two worlds. Jake reached for her hand. I want that too. Over the next weeks, Jake continued to learn and grow. He studied Shirathi history and culture, and Lyra taught him how to understand the unspoken language of their people. In return, Jake shared stories of Earth, about its beauty and its struggles. Their bond deepened, but challenges remained. One evening, as Jake prepared for sleep, Corin appeared at his door. There is news, Corin said grimly. A neighboring clan refuses to accept the union. They are gathering warriors. Jake's heart sank. Are they planning an attack? Corin nodded. It is possible. We must be ready. Jake felt a surge of protectiveness for Lyra and her people. We'll face them, he said firmly. Together? That night, Jake and Lyra spoke quietly. We have come far, Jake said. Hey. But the hardest part is still ahead. Lyra nodded. True, but we are stronger now. Our bond is not just tradition, it is our choice. Jake smiled. Then we fight for it. For us, for both our worlds. Lyra took his hand and squeezed it together. The next morning, the Shirathi warriors prepared for possible battle. Jake joined them, feeling the weight of responsibility as they waited. Jake thought about how far he had come from a confused stranger to a trusted mate. He looked at Lyra, standing tall beside him. No matter what came next, they would face it as one. The dawn broke clear and bright over the Shirathi stronghold. Jake stood with Lyra and the warriors on the edge of the forest, eyes scanning the horizon. Tension was thick in the air. The neighboring clan had sent word. They wanted a final answer about Jake's place among the Shirathi. If the answer was no, they would not hesitate to come with weapons. Jake clenched his fists. He had learned much since arriving, but now everything would be tested. Lyra stood beside him, calm and steady. "We are ready," she said quietly. The opposing clan arrived just as the suns reached their highest point. Hundreds of warriors gathered in a large clearing between the two clans. The leaders stepped forward. A fierce-looking man with a scar across his face, and the Shirathi elder, The scarred man's voice was sharp. "Jake Carter. If you truly honor the Shirathi, prove it here. Defeat our champion, or leave our lands." Sari replied, "Jake has passed the tests of strength and loyalty, but today he will face our champion as a sign of respect and peace." Jake's heart pounded as the champion stepped forward. He was a giant of a man, thick and eyes cold. The crowd fell silent. Jake and the champion faced each other in the center of the clearing. The fight was not just physical, it was a battle of wills. The champion attacked first, and fast. Jake dodged, feeling the wind from the blows. He remembered everything he had learned: to stay calm, to watch, to wait. Minutes passed like hours. Jake blocked and dodged, using moves Lyra and Corin had taught him. He was not as strong or fast, but he was clever. When the champion made a heavy strike, Jake stepped aside and pushed forward, using the champion's weight against him. With a swift move, Jake knocked the champion to the ground. The crowd gasped. The champion looked up, breathing hard, nodded in respect. Jake extended a hand to help him up. The silence broke into cheers. Elder Sari raised her voice. "Jake Carter has proven himself not just as a warrior, but as a true mate to the Shirathi." The scarred leader stepped forward and spoke. "You have earned our respect, human. The bond between you and Lyra is accepted." Lyra smiled and took Jake's hand. Jake looked at the gathered clans. "I may come from a different world," he said, "but I stand here with honor and loyalty. I am part of this family now." The clans gathered to celebrate the peace. Music filled the air. Fires lit the night. People danced and shared food. Jake watched Lyra laughing with her friends. He felt a warmth in his chest. This was home. In the following days, Jake worked with the Shirathi to build stronger bonds between the clans. He shared stories of Earth, its wonders and lessons. The Shirathi shared their wisdom and culture slowly. Walls of suspicion fell away. One evening, Jake and Lyra sat by the stream where they first spoke. Lyra leaned her head on Jake's shoulder. "You have changed much since you arrived." Jake smiled. "You have changed me. We are stronger together," she said. Jake looked up at the stars. "I never imagined my journey would lead me here." "Neither did I," Lyra whispered. They both knew the future would hold challenges, but they were ready. Their bond was more than tradition. It was a promise to face whatever came next, together.